Hello, somebody out there, and welcome to this class. Uh, Please remember to subscribe to my channel and endeavor to like my page. This will enable you get videos whenever they are posted. All right. Today we are going to be continuing with tenses. We have been treating tenses for some time. We have talked about what tenses generally means. We've talked about the present tense. Today, we are going to be discussing the past tense. All right. When you talk about past tense, let me remind us that tenses points to time. Whenever you talk about tense in English language, tense is a word that is used to point to the time of an action, whether the action happened in the past, or it happened in the present, or is happening in the present, or an action that will still happen. All right. Today we are to talk about past tense. Now, when you talk about past tense points to actions that happened in the past. And just like what we treated in the present tense, the past tense has its types also. We have, for instance, the simple past tense. We have the past continuous tense. Somebody may wish to refer to this as the past progressive tense. They mean the same thing. We have the third one, the past perfect tense, and then we have the past perfect progressive or continuous, as you may wish to call it, tense. All right, these are the four aspects of the past tense that we have. Now, if you talk about the simple past tense, there are two things that I would like you to know about this. First is that the past tense talks about action that happened in the past. Just an action that happened in the past. Let us say where you have something like I went to church. If you take a look at this now, this is trying to talk about this action went. It's trying to talk about somebody having gone to church in the past. I went to church. Maybe this sentence will appear like I went to church yesterday. It is an action that happened in the past. So it is in the simple past tense form. Also, there are situations where you have actions that were habitual or an action that was habitual in the past. Remember, we discussed something about habitual actions that is under the simple present tense. Now, under the simple past tense, maybe you're talking about an action that happened once but in the past, or you're talking about an action that was habitual yet in the past. Let us say when you say I went to church every Sunday last year. If you take a look at this, I went to church every Sunday last year. Now, if this were to be in the simple present tense form, what you have here is I go to church every Sunday. But because of the way it appears, it is talking about something that happened in the past. It was habitual. So these are the two areas that you have. Simple past tense played its role. Now, I went to church every Sunday last year. Maybe the person speaking now, as at this year, the person has stopped going to church. But the person is trying to say here that last year, he or she went to church every Sunday. All right. Apart from that, we have the past progressive tense. For the past progressive tense, I would want you to take note of something. For this past progressive tense, there are two actions that are going to be considered. The action that you are talking about itself, and then another action. This is to illustrate it. Another action happening at the same time of that action. If you remember that in the present continuous tense, we said that it is an action that is ongoing simultaneously with the speech. You are speaking and the action is taking place. Now, for the past continuous tense, it points to an action happening and then another action crossing it, happening at the same time, but still in the past. Let us say when you have something like, I was sleeping. If somebody decides to end it here, it is correct. But then, for you to understand what this means, let us complete it. Let us say something like, I was sleeping when they came. Now, I was sleeping. This sleeping here is this action. I was sleeping. That is the main action that we're talking about. I was sleeping when they came. Another action came in. Now, that is what this arrow illustrates. Remember, I said an action is happening, another action crosses it. Now, I was sleeping when they came. An action was taking place. This action was ongoing. Now, another action came in at the same time, but all are in the past. This is what we refer to as past progressive tense or past continuous tense. All right, after that, we have the past perfect tense. If you remember, when we discussed the present perfect tense, we talked about it as an action that has been accomplished as at the time of speech. Now, for this past perfect tense, this talks about an action that had, this time around it should be had, an action that had been accomplished as at a particular time of speech in the past. Sorry, an action that had been accomplished as at the time of another action, not speech, as at the time of another action that also happened in the past. Let us take, for instance, if you have something like, I had left. This is complete, but for us to understand it very well, let us add something else to it. I have left when you called. I had left when you called. I had left. I don't know if you understand something from here. Now, an action had already taken place as at that time that this one came. Now, as at the time that you called, I had left. The action of leaving had been accomplished. It had been perfected. Now, these are two actions, but also in the past. You then action that started in the past. The present perfect progressive tense is an action that started happening in the past and continues to happen into the time of speech. That is for the present perfect progressive tense. But listen, if you talk about the past perfect progressive tense, this one talks about an action that started sometime in the past. It continued to happen for some time, yet still in the past. This is an illustration of it. If we have it this way, this is just an illustration. Let us say we have this points to time. Let us say that this line points to time. Here is past. Here is present. Here is future. This is present. This is past. Now, when you talk about past perfect progressive tense, this means an action started from somewhere. It continued happening. That is to say, it lingered for some time. Maybe the action started sometime in the past and it continued to happen for like 3 weeks, for like 4 weeks, for like a year. It continued to happen and stopped somewhere. But yet, all of them are in the past, considering the time of speech. This is the time at which the speech is made. Past perfect progressive tense. The action continued to happen. It started and lingered. It continued to happen till a particular time when it stopped. But all of them are in the past, considering the time of speech. Let us see when you have something like, let us say, I had been going to school. I had been going to school before my dad left us. I had been going to school. Had been, you must have this when you're talking about the past perfect progressive. I had been going to school. That is to say, just like what I said, the action started and lingered. It continued to happen. This going to school started somewhere. It continued to happen for some time before this particular action. My dad left us. Let us use another example. You can have something like, she was angry that the baby had been left outside from the time she went to the market. Now, she was angry that the baby had been outside from the time she went to market. This action of being outside started. It lingered. That is to say, it lingered between the time she left and the time that she came back. And then she was angry about it. Now, the past perfect progressive tense talks about an action that started sometime in the past, it lingered, it continued to happen and then stopped, but all are in the past. This is about the past tense. I believe by now you've understood what the present tense talks about and what the past tense talks about. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel and like my page. Thank you.